CODA is a very, very good film. You probably don't need me to tell you that, but I will add my voice to the loudening throng of people, giving it the praise it deserves. To be honest, there was almost no chance it wouldn't be good, at least good, after it received all of the praise that it did. But you do never know. It's also not the type of film I generally might have covered if it hadn't won the Oscar, at which point I just had to watch it and see what the fuss was about. Now, this is not a point against the movie, by the way, but it's just to say that I personally am not generally drawn towards Bildungsromans or coming-of-age dramas, or family dramas in general, unless there's something extreme attached to them, like a mob movie or something like that. I just tend to gravitate towards movies that have a little more edge to them. But CODA surmounted this with relative ease, and it's a winner. Although I do have some thoughts about it, especially concerning the Oscar grab. But before that, just in case you're not aware of this story, it centers on a high school girl named Ruby, who is a CODA. And CODA takes on a few different meanings within the film. It's a good title, simple and elegant, and it points towards a few different motifs here. CODA translates to Child of Deaf Adults, and is also the conclusion to a musical composition. This is apropos to the film, because Ruby is the only hearing member of her family, and has aspirations to become a singer at Berklee. Not this Berklee, not my alma mater, but this Berklee, Berklee School of Music. So the drama that defines the film largely centers around these two elements, as she acts as interpreter and liaison between her deaf family and their fishing business and the hearing world, while she simultaneously works with her choir teacher, Mr. V, in order to hone her skills, which is something her family cannot readily understand, since music quite obviously is out of their auditory reach, being, of course, deaf. It's a cute, soulful little Bildungsroman about a girl breaking out of her shell, learning who she is, falling in love, and all these movie elements. And here's where I would like to bring in the Best Picture Oscar. I'm not going to say it didn't deserve it or anything quite so denigrating as that, but I think it's almost a shame I knew this film won the award, because it led me to expect something at least a little bit more challenging than what it was. And once again, this is not a mark against the film. I want to make that totally clear. But it is what it is. And what it is a pretty safe, benign film. It does just enough in terms of creating obstacles for Ruby, so that you feel those tried and true movie emotions, from sadness and frustration to joy and elation, but you always know in the back of your mind that everything will be okay at the end. There's just no chance she won't get into Berklee. You know it, and in case you had any doubts, the score of the film will let you know how to feel. In some sense, I would liken the feeling of safety this movie gave me to those 90s Oscar movies starring Tom Hanks. CODA sticks very, very closely to the Oscar movie script handbook, if we can imagine such a thing existing. That said, if you're gonna make that type of movie these days, this is about as good as I can imagine it being. Except for certain moments when the score makes it feel a little too much like a Disney movie, especially at the end. It feels very grounded and realistic. The filmmaking isn't showy, but instead emphasizes the incredible performances, which I really have to make a note of. Everybody in this film is fantastic. I loved the character of Mr. V, even though he sticks pretty true to the characterological archetype of the hard-ass teacher with a heart of gold. Marlee Matlin wears her heart on her sleeve as the mother, and we have got to give it up for Troy Kotsur and his Oscar-winning performance, which might be one of the funniest, most tender performances I've seen in a good long time. And of course, the young Emilia Jones, who I cannot wait to see in more movies. She is so sweet and so effective, enveloping all the emotions of a struggling teenager, and I hope we see her career blossom off the back of this. One last thing that I'm not sure how I feel about exactly is the cinematic representation of deafness. And by representation, I don't mean having it feel realistic or respectful where deaf people are concerned. It does that tremendously well. And all the actors who are deaf in the movie are deaf in real life, which is very cool. What I mean is, movies have a very wide and very interesting toolkit to work with in order to convey things that other mediums cannot. And there was a specific thing I really wanted this movie to do, to draw me, as somebody who is not deaf, into that experiential world. Minor spoilers here, okay? 3, 2, 1. Here I go. One of the most tender moments in the film is when Ruby's parents attend her concert and have no idea what to feel because they can't hear. But at a certain moment, the camera pulls in on them, the sound of the movie evaporates, bringing you into their world for a brief, beautiful moment, where even though they can't hear, they witness the reactions of other people in the crowd as they cry and clap, and you can see the dawning realization that, holy shit, our daughter is really good. My point here is that this is the one moment when the film utilizes the tools of cinema to give me, as the viewer, a unique experience. This is what I mean by the cinematic representation of deafness. I'm kind of torn, honestly, between wishing the film had done just a little bit more of that and appreciating that it chose its moment very well and didn't go too far with it. After all, the fulcrum of the film is Ruby, so I don't know. Maybe it was just enough, after all. I suppose we will never know. In all, to draw this to a conclusion, CODA is a very, very good film. It won't challenge you per se, in the way that something like Parasite, for instance, would challenge you, if we can compare it to another recent Best Picture winner. But within the tried and true Bildungsroman movie lexicon, which is pretty vast, it does stand on its own, and I can easily recommend it to just about everybody. My vote for Best Picture would have been something like Titane, but hey, I'm a weirdo. And anyone who's seen that film knows the Academy would never go for that. Way too weird, way too sexual, way too French. But I digress. Those are my thoughts on CODA. Invite grandma over, pop some popcorn, and feel the feels. Alright, that's me done for the day. Thanks for watching, and get out of my theater. The boys and I are gonna watch From Hell. We gotta give our boy Johnny Depp some love as he faces down a horrible monster. Go Team Johnny. See y'all in the next one.